chooses unique and challenging roles. Oh yeah, each different layer of sparkle. I remember the exact point when I learned that it was actually, you know, that playing pretend and playing a character and dressing up is actually, you know, an occupation that I could possibly do for my life, which when I did learn that was very exciting. But I was lucky enough to kind of learn that from a very young age. I mean, I obviously had my sister to look up to in the business, and everything she did, I wanted to follow suit and do the same thing. And so I definitely was kind of following her along, and really had a built-in role model there. And I mean, it's interesting. I was thinking about this recently because someone, you know, people ask these questions of those like monumental moments, or like when something clicks for you, or you realize kind of what acting at the core, what is it really? You know, because when you're a kid actor, it's like I definitely realized that I was playing a character and playing someone else, and it's gonna be, your face is gonna be really big on the screen, and then you're gonna get to watch it, which I loved watching myself when I was young. I'm like, it's so big. Oh, now I'm a little bit more nervous about that. But there was a moment, I did this film called Phoebe in Wonderland when I was 9, and Patricia Clarkson was in it. And there was this moment that I shared with her. It was a scene that we had together, and obviously she's extraordinary and was so kind to me, and very, I've been fortunate to work with so many people who have kind of taken me under their wing, or, you know, shared advice, or just been there to be examples, because I didn't go to really like formal training or school for acting or anything, so I was really kind of learning on the job, and kind of learning how different actors work, and what different directors want, you know, from the experience. So, but there was a scene that we had together, and she was so amazing in the scene, and it was a close-up on her, so I was off camera, but I was, and you know, it didn't call for this in the script, or, you know, it wasn't really actually an emotional scene, but she was so good, and I was so in it, and I just like completely started crying. And wow. I realized, I mean, I was 9, I was young, but I realized in that moment, oh, this is what actors, when they talk about those magic moments, or what you're trying to capture, or what you're always trying to get in a scene, and that authenticity and realness, I was like, this is that feeling, that connectedness when you're really listening to an actor, and I just was like, well, I want to feel this for the rest of my life. Obviously, it's because she was so brilliant, but I was just like totally moved, and I'm like, I like this feeling. And you know, you get an adrenaline rush from it, so.
I love hearing that actors can get lost.
But there are times you're like Elle, like it's your line, like, oh right. Yeah, you're just, you know, really in awe by what they. I feel like I love like miniatures, so I thought like maybe I'd be like, you know, like in Hereditary, like, where she like makes like, you know, artistic doll houses, or I could do that. So broad, there's an array.
Again, I love that that's your takeaway from Hereditary.
Yeah,
miniatures are cool.
I know. You know, not a lot shocks me. I'm someone, it takes a lot to shock me.
Are you a horror fan?
I can take it. I mean, I'm a little bit like creepy little like girls, like baby dolls, like that gets under my, like The Shining, like that, like gets, you know, that's like gets under my skin. But still, I don't know. I can take it. It's more, yeah, I don't know. Like the crazy things we have to do in the show. Yes. They don't faze me. I'm like, Tony, make it more. Bring it on.
Well, let's talk a little more about the great.
When you know, season 1, that script came to me, The Favorite had not come out yet. Oh. Yeah, so I acted, which Tony wrote that film as well, so I had nothing to actually really compare the humor to, and it was a script that came to me, like a movie script that he had written that was based off the play in Australia that he had put on, and which basically kind of covers the first season. Like that story was the play, and actually she like aged up in that play. Yeah, so it like passed many years. But you know, it for sure really stood out as honestly like the best script, one of that I had ever read, because of Tony's genius. I mean, his way with words and the tightrope of tone that he's able to walk, and how you actually, you're laughing out loud and like, shaking your head at how like ridiculous some things are, but then also really believing in the high stakes and the emotional dramatics of it as well, which is really hard to do, because I think, especially a show with a lot of things that we do that are hard to believe, but to also live in the truth of it and kind of bring people on the ride to just, here we go. And I think Tony is able to really sweep people up in that world that he's really, made up, because it is, like you said, not completely historically accurate. I mean, things are some based in truth, but the timeline is off, and things are definitely, we do not hold ourselves to the history books, but it was just also this character. I mean, playing Catherine, I knew that in the first season, I mean, you never know how people are going to respond, but that it was going to be like, when we were filming that first season, like, this is a special character, like, this is a special moment for me as an actor. Like, you do hit those milestones in your career. There's like, I can remember certain movies and I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of progressed me, or made people see me in a different way or whatnot. And The Great is certainly one of those for me. And it's just the twists and turns that Catherine's able to do, and she's very, she's quite an opposite person. Like, she's extremely bubbly, but she also has this really ruthless kind of egotistical side, which I really love to play with. I mean, especially in season 2, that ego's kind of played up because she now is in power, but she's kind of questioning herself. I mean, it for sure is a very, feminist show. But at the same time, I think and kind of what makes it feminist is that she's not always necessarily the strongest person in the room. She does falter, and I think seeing a messy female character on TV, those are the shows that I like to watch, and she's not perfect, and who wants to play a perfect character? You don't want to. So she's really exciting to play.
She came into season 1 so naive and like so willing to fall in love with this guy, and you see her whole arc that season, and by the end she's staging a coup.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, she is in power, but she's learning it's not so easy.
Yeah. God, it's gone. We're just like apologizing to everyone around us, because sometimes we definitely cannot keep it together. It's so funny.
And you mentioned you're currently working on season 3.
Yes.
Is there anything
Yes.
you can tell us?
Well, I mean, I think I was 19 when the court case was going on, so I had just graduated high school myself. And I knew very much what everyone kind of knew. The media definitely portrayed it in a very kind of one-dimensional way. It's such a tragic story, and Conrad is very much the victim in this case, but we also didn't get to know about his backstory either from the media. He was really portrayed as just the boy who committed suicide, and we didn't know anything else about his life or who he was. And Michelle was the manipulator, the Black Widow, portrayed very evilly. And I think everyone formed that opinion of her, which the media also really likes to villainize young girls sometimes. And not that I agree with what she did, but I do think there's a way, and I hope that our show did this to bring awareness to the struggles that young people are facing in the world with social media and texting and technology, because I think it really riveted the nation, because it was the first, they were kind of the first, generation to see the outcome of growing up in the world of cell phones, and like in this case it was very bad side of that, and it was kind of the first showing us the bad side of what could happen with this, and that false intimacy that cell phones create. Especially their full relationship was all over the phone. They only met like 3 times in person, and we did have access to all of the text messages, and they're really, of course, it's very intense and quite eerie to read those, which I was able to. But also at the same time, it captured the essence of what you think is first love, or the silliness of telling each other your deepest, darkest secrets, and all of that was in these text messages with them. And I did not speak with Michelle personally, but they were such both lost souls and really tragic people, you know, going through their own tragedies themselves, that you just wish that they would have never met, honestly. But yeah, she was a complicated person to play because you can't judge a character you're playing, but at the same, you have to somehow wrap your head around trying to understand how she ultimately did what she did, and if you can't get that, then you can't play her. So at some point you have to separate yourself from the real person and create your own version that's going to service the story in our way. And we really didn't want to sensationalize or romanticize this, which is really what the media kind of did, and which could have easily been done, but it was, yeah, you know, it was an intense shoot. You know, we had like one nice kind of happy day, which was when we got to do the Glee musical fantasy, which you would never think like a musical moment would be in the show, but it is, and that was a happy day on set.
I actually want to talk, that was something that was so fascinating and weird.
No, I do say like there's nothing in the world like more dramatic than a teenage girl, like, and Michelle is definitely on a, you know, scale of 11 on that. But that scene, I mean, that was in the pilot. It was written by Liz Hannah and Patrick McManus. And that's just, you know, when you're doing shows or films, there's a scene that stands out that you're nervous for, or know that, okay, this is a scene that has to deliver. Because especially at the end of the pilot, questioning her motives, or you're trying to figure out, and I think in that last moment, you're like, ooh, maybe this is an orchestrated event. Maybe, you know, because she is there really emulating grief or trying to mimic grief, which kind of like you said, isn't really, it's a relatable thing. I don't know if people feel like it is, but I definitely, I think the obsession with Glee and the YA world of Fault in Our Stars, like once I kind of learned that about her, I'm like, okay, I think I get her, I know her. She's trying to be kind of the star of her own YA story, and especially, I mean, that scene's very meta with, you know, Leah Michelle's grieving her real life boyfriend, who's grieving a character that's on this show that is very much emulating what Michelle's going through at the same time. And yeah, that was the preparation for that was hardcore, because like I would at night film myself emulating, like I wrote on a legal pad, like every single time she closed her eyes, every single time she, like on the word that she touched the necklace on the time, and you know, when she would get emotional. So I really had to mimic her performance of when she would get emotional. So it became actually quite technical. And I wanted it to be right on, because I thought the more right on it was, the kind of creepier that it would be. And so yeah, I would film myself doing it to the camera, and then I would put it next to my computer and like tweak what I could do better. And when we were filming it, we had Leah, I couldn't see Leah when I was filming it, but at the monitors they could, so they were making sure it was all matching up.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've been thinking, like I did a scene kind of like this in Super 8, weirdly, like that I've been thinking about it, because it was again another kind of meta scene of my character was in a film, being emotional in the film, but like acting within acting, you know? This in some ways was like that, because I do think Michelle, you want to question if those emotions are real, or if she's just trying to garner them for the performance, you know? Because I think even at the end, the little smile at the end is, and it's said in the script, like Michelle, you know, smiles because she's nailed the performance. And in a lot of ways, I don't know what was going through my mind at that moment, but I knew it was so specific that it had to be a certain kind of, like, you know, jarring kind of situation. But yeah, it was challenging.
I mean, the show does not shy away at all from what Michelle did and her responsibility, but it also, you know, it's very sensitively, you know.
We were doing the courtroom stuff, and we sent them photos, and they're like, no, not of Michelle, of ELLE. And we're like, it's me. Yeah, so that's when you know, I mean, hair and makeup, water, you know. All the costumes were back searched on the internet, so they were the actual, like from the same exact brands, the same prints as she wore in every single courtroom scene. It's really phenomenal that they were able to do that. Eerie, but
And how much does that help you as an actor? Because you could do all this research and preparation, and then you step there and they give you the eyebrows, they give you the outfit, and then is that like the final moment? Like, how did you
so
feel?
Much. It does. I mean, a lot of it, because also she looked like so many different people. Like there were so many different phases in her life. In the courtroom is definitely her most known. So I knew that look would be scrutinized the most when the show came out, because that's kind of what people were familiar with. So I knew it had to be spot on. I mean, from the first fitting, Mirren, designer, I think she's actually here. She should be here. And Liz should be here too. Liz Hannah, like that remembered me, but I remembered that just now. That they should be here. Was that fitting, because I only had the 2 weeks in between. So having that fitting was like, I don't know, it settled me that I was like, oh yes, this is gonna work, or you find the physicality. And at that point, she's such a shell of a person. I mean, she's gone through so much, I think, and it's like episode 6, and she's really broken down, and it of course helped. Yeah, the eyebrows were big. We had a lot of screen tests with different eyebrows and shapes and getting them right. I know, I'm so curious as to why she did her eyebrows that way. I don't know. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it was kind of like war paint. Like it was like her. She was such a kind of delicate, nymph-like. She had a very delicate face and then very harsh brows that almost, I don't know, in court maybe they hid her emotions or made her look harsher. Something about it. I really don't know. Yeah, it was makeup.
I really did not expect to, I don't want to say understand, but empathize with her, but then also in a weird sort of way relate, and that's the genius of the writing and the performance. Did you find that in the scripts from the beginning? Did you have to work to understand her, or did you sort of get it?
I kind of got it. I think from the brilliance of the writing and the subtleties there of it, like this kind of, because it's very done with like a very delicate hand, and it's very unbiased. Like, we're not trying to overturn the verdict. I mean, what happened. She went to jail, but at least to have a little bit more insight into both of their lives as to what they were going through, and serve in maybe some ways as a cautionary tale of if someone is hurting to reach out and try to get help and try to see those signs. I mean, it's hard to see those signs, but I mean, Colton Ryan, who plays Conrad, is so extraordinary, and I don't think, and Chloe as well is so good, and having them who were they came to work so authentic every day with their purpose, and I mean, Colton especially just really gave Conrad such an inner life, and you could feel his pain, and it was a very specific pain that he kind of honed into, and of course that helps to make you better, right? Listening and watching them. Yeah.
So I always feel a little guilty because we've just talked about 2 amazing series you've done, but I do sort of want to know what's up next. You're getting ready for season 3 of The Great?
Yeah, I'm kind of focusing on that because it takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes months and months. So it's that, trying to produce more and find projects that I, want to possibly produce and not even be in. That's fun as well. But yeah, I'm focusing on season 3. I have to go back to London tomorrow. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
I know.
I hate how much I'm rooting for those 2. And
Yeah, I know. No, they're like the most toxic couple.
What does it say about me that I want them together?
I know. I do too.
Okay, good.
It's fine. We're relate.
Well, again, congratulations on not 1 but 2 fantastic performances and series. I want to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you all for being a great audience.